long one. And I am going to start recording these on my regular Facebook page just for a season. I'm doing an experiment. Just to see what happens. Wait, what happened? Uh-oh. Did I just do 2 live streams on... What? Hang on a second. I got 2 extra windows open here. Oh, boy. Okay, there we are. I was like, what the heck was happening? All right, so I'm just going to experiment for a little bit because of this monetization stuff. I'm not getting any feedback on the Wolf Den Connection page, but I am on this one. So I'm going to switch over to just doing YouTube, my main Facebook page, and Instagram, even though I'm not getting a lot of views on Instagram either. I felt like the Lord said I still needed to do it there. So this will streamline my airing too, so I don't have to worry about that so much. Eventually I will... Lady, quit. Kids. Anywho, welcome to the study of the Bible in a year. She has Dad wrapped around her fingers. Hi, Lady. Hi, Lacey. We got them both. Welcome to the study of the Bible in a year. It's a topical study, and we are on week 25. Our subject title is obedience. We're on day 175. We've been doing this for 175 days straight. I only missed one day in the very beginning, so I did 2 in one day. March 24th is the date. We're on day 7 of obedience. We're going to be reading Genesis 22, 1 through 18. That's like the most verses I think we've ever read going through this study. So that's very interesting. All right. Our I am statement for today, day 12 of 40 says, I am sanctified. 1 Corinthians 6:11. And that is what some of you were, but you were washed, you were sanctified, you were justified in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ and by the Spirit of our God. Reflection is you are set apart and made holy for God's purpose. The prayer tonight is, Lord, sanctify my heart and make me holy so that I may live for you. Amen. All right, first let's see what our reflections were for this week. What clear directive from God have you been postponing? What first step of obedience could you take this week? Well, I've been postponing finishing the book, but I've also had a lot of things on my schedule, making some resin projects and getting those things out of the way so I can get them ready for sale. My husband just had surgery on his elbow. I've been taking classes to become ordained as a pastor, and I know all of these sound like excuses, and I've been back to the gym, but finding the time just to sit down and write is one of the most difficult things to do. So that's what I've been postponing. All right. In what area of your life is partial obedience masquerading as full obedience? How could you move forward toward complete obedience this week? And that's getting back into my daily reading. Like I listen to the Bible at work, but I also have a thing that I keep notes with, and I should be keeping up with that too, and I haven't been. And then where do you need courage to obey? Who could you ask to support you in taking one step of obedience this week? So I actually asked our home group if they would pray that I would get back into my writing. So I can check all these things off my list this week. All right, we are looking up Genesis 22, verses 1 through 18. We get a whole story tonight. Aren't you excited? I'm excited. 22, 28. All right, 22. Verse 1 through 18 in the NIV says, sometime God tested Abraham. He said to him, Abraham, here I am, he replied. Then God said, take your son, your only son, whom you love, Isaac, and go to the region of Moriah. Sacrifice him there as a burnt offering on a mountain I will show you. Early the next morning, Abraham got up and loaded his donkey. He took with him 2 of his servants and his son Isaac. When he had cut enough wood for the burnt offering, he set out the place for the place God had told him about. On the third day, Abraham looked up and saw the place in the distance. He said to his servants, "Stay here with the donkey while I and the boy go over there. We will worship, and then we will come back to you." Abraham took the wood for the burnt offering and placed it on his son Isaac, and said, and he himself carried the fire and the knife. As the two of them went on together, Isaac spoke up and said to his father, "Abraham, father." "Yes, my son," Abraham replied. "The fire and the wood are here," Isaac said. "But where is the lamb for the burnt offering?" Abraham answered, "God himself will provide the lamb for the burnt offering, my son." And the two of them went on together. When they reached the place God had told him about, Abraham built an altar there and arranged the wood on it. He bound his son Isaac and laid him on the altar on top of the wood. Then he reached out his hand and took the knife to slay his son. But the angel of the Lord called out to him from heaven, "Abraham, Abraham." "Here I am," he replied. "Do not lay a hand on the boy," he said. "Do not do anything to him. Now I know that you fear God, because you have not withheld me from your son, your only son." Abraham looked up, and there in a thicket he saw a ram caught by its horns. He went over and took the ram and sacrificed it as a burnt offering instead of his son. So Abraham called the place, "The Lord will provide." And to this day it is said, "On the mountain of the Lord it will be provided." The angel of the Lord called to Abraham from heaven a second time and said, "I swear by myself, declares the Lord, and because you have done this and have not withheld your son, your only son, I will surely bless you and make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky, as the sand on the seashore. Your descendants will take possession of the cities of their enemies, and through your offspring, all nations on earth will be blessed because you have obeyed me." Okay, now we're going to read the same thing in the Message Bible. But just to make it clear, if you didn't know the story of Isaac, Isaac was a promised child and given to Abraham and Sarah when they were really late in age. And so for him to go and sacrifice the one thing that he had asked God for so long and waited for was huge. All right. In the Message Bible, 1 through 18. After all this, God tested Abraham. God said, "Abraham." "Yes," answered Abraham. "I'm listening." He said, "Take your dear son Isaac, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah. Sacrifice him as a burnt offering on one of the mountains that I will point out to you." Abraham didn't even second guess it. Abraham just got up early in the morning and saddled his donkey. He took two of his young servants and his son Isaac. He had split wood for the burnt offering. He set out for the place God had directed him. On the third day, he looked up and saw the place in the distance. Abraham told his two young servants, "Stay here with the donkey. The boy and I are going over there to worship, and then we'll come back to you." Abraham took the wood for the burnt offering and gave it to Isaac, his son, to carry. Now, this is a reflection of the resurrection of Christ. He carried the flint and the knife. The two of them went off together. Isaac said to Abraham, his father, "Father." "Yes, my son, you have flint and wood, but where's the sheep for the burnt offering?" Abraham said, "Son, God will see to it that there's a sheep for the burnt offering." And they kept on walking together. "No, lady." They arrived at the place to which God had directed him. Abraham built an altar. He laid out the wood. Then he tied up Isaac and laid him on the wood. Abraham reached out and took the knife to kill his son. Just then, an angel of God called to him out of heaven, "Abraham, Abraham." "Yes, I'm listening." "Don't lay a hand on that boy. Don't touch him. Now I know how fearlessly you fear God. You didn't hesitate to place your son, your dear son, on the altar for me." Abraham looked up. He saw a ram caught by its horns in the thicket. Abraham took the ram and sacrificed it as a burnt offering instead of his son. Abraham named that place God Yireh. God sees to it. That's where we get the saying, "On the mountain of God he sees to it." The angel of God spoke from heaven a second time to Abraham. "I swear, God's sure word, because you have gone through with this and have not refused to give me your son, your dear, dear son, I'll bless you. Oh, how I'll bless you. And I'll make sure that your children flourish like stars in the sky, like sand on the beaches, and your descendants will defeat their enemies. All nations on earth will find themselves blessed through your descendants because you obeyed me. So in this story, it just highlights what obedience does. So obedience not only showed God that Abraham loved him, obedience also was reflected in his son. You know, he was obedient to give up his only son, which is what Jesus or what God did with Jesus on the cross. The story totally mirrors that. But there's had to be some more things behind the scenes because Abraham didn't waste any time. He just, the Lord said it, he went and did it. And I think a lot of times we miss our blessings because we don't go do it when God says it. And I think that's the lesson that we need to learn there. All right, so the synopsis for this week was obedience is the active expression of our love for God and trust in his wisdom. It demonstrates the reality of our faith and opens the door to experiencing God's best for our lives. Our blessing this week was may love motivate your obedience this week as you follow God's leading with a willing and joyful heart. All right. So tomorrow I'll be back on here with week 26. Where's 26? Oh, my papers are getting, I got to start paper clipping these again. All right. I got to find something real quick. All right. So we'll be on suffering. That's our title for next week. We'll be on here tomorrow night with suffering. We'll be on week 26 and we'll be in Romans 8:18. I hope you can join me for that. And then until we see each other again, stay rooted in God's goodness, stay wrapped in the love of Jesus, and know that you are deeply loved. Have a wonderful night. Talk to you next time.